Okay, welcome to the third and final session today. We have three presenters. Our first one is Sarah Bullis from Bunchgrass Flat. Looking for your town. Waukomis, Oklahoma, and I'm going to let her tell her story, so welcome.
So I'm Sarah. We've been farming since See? We talked about that. Is that better? We on? Okay. So we've been farming since 2008 with my husband and boys. They're in the back. Say hi. So we have two kids, and they're 12, 13, and 14 now, not 12 and 13. And we do a lot of stuff. But today I'm going to talk to you about the power of observation. So this is me moving cattle one winter. I don't know when that was, probably a year ago or two. We move our cattle every day. So this is another one. This is one of our fields. You can tell where we've been and where we're going. And we do rotationally graze. So this is a quote that one of my friends, Kim Barker, gave me. And it just kind of sums up my whole thought in life. So I'm going to read it. I take a somewhat different approach. To me, it makes more sense to observe results and follow them to the correct method. I observe plants, their growth, the condition of the soil, and consider all that in relation to the weather, the season, the climate, and many individual factors that come together to form a cohesive whole. A plant in its natural state is perfectly capable of showing me how it's doing. I can react to that, and even if I react incorrectly, it will show me that too. If I keep observing, in time, I will eventually realize what it is I need to change. To a certain extent, the kind of observation is also a sort of intuition. And intuition can be trained and can be learned. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today is things that we observe and why we observe it and what they're telling us. So to acquire knowledge, one must study, but to acquire wisdom, one must observe. So what does it mean to observe? So Webster Dictionary, simple, means to see, to watch, to notice, to regard with attention, so as to see or learn something, to watch, view, or note for a scientific, official, or special purpose. So why do we observe? You've heard people talk all day about the why. If you don't know the why, you're going to fall out really quick. You're going to burn out really quick. You're not going to be pushed to the next level. So you have to know your why. So why observe? Through observation, one can learn to identify patterns in nature, animal health and needs, deficiencies in the soil, excess nutrients in the soil, grazing efficiencies, and many other beneficial things. All by just paying attention. So what do you have to lose? Nothing. You will only gain from learning to observe, and I am here to help you take what you have observed, translate that into useful, applicable knowledge. Simple, right? It's not. So it's not simple. It's a practice, and you have to start somewhere. So I'm going to start talking about something I've been observing for a long time. So we're going to talk about identifying patterns in nature. This is the broad-shoulder hawk migration. It happens every year, happens on the exact same day every year. That's not true. It happens all over the place. It changes drastically from each year. Why? Why do the hawks not migrate through the same day, the same year, the same time every year? So, last year, is that 2019? What year is this? 2020? So last year, these hawks migrated through on August 12th. This year, they came through on September 29th. They're there for maybe 2 days, tops, 3 days. It's a real hoot to get to see them because it's kind of creepy seeing 300 hawks perched all over the place, up to thousands. So that's a 6-week difference between last year and this year. Why? I don't know. So I remember last year telling my husband that we were going to have an early winter. The cows in August, typically our hottest month, were packing on the hair last year. The woolly bears, which is a little caterpillar we have, that are usually brown and white, were all white. The Indian grass seeded out weeks ahead of schedule of when they usually seed out. The deer were frantically everywhere, running around like maniacs as if they couldn't get enough food to eat. Something strange was going on last year. It was weird. Everything was screwy. But the weatherman said we would be having an above average precipitation, above average temperature winter. It was going to be a wet and mild winter. That's great, easy. All right, weathermen know. However, we had our first freeze on September 17th last year. We had a major ice storm in October. On New Year's Eve, we had 10 inches of snow with 5-foot snow drifts. Mind you, we live in Oklahoma. It doesn't snow. My kids have hardly ever seen snow. They had about 4 inches of snow whenever they were 2 and 3. Now it's the only other snow they've seen. So in February, we spent 2 weeks in sub-zero temperatures, consistently below zero, 2 weeks straight. We had a foot of snow on the ground during that time. The birds knew, the cows knew, the caterpillars knew, but the weatherman, he didn't have a clue. Why? Why is that? So we knew, my family knew that winter was going to be hard. We acted on it. We prepared for it. We bought extra alfalfa. We thought ahead a little bit. So we were ready. We didn't lose a single animal to the cold. Farmers around us lost many, almost nearly all of their calf crop was killed during the sub-zero temperatures. Many cows were killed. It was heartbreaking. We didn't lose a single calf. Why? Anyone? We calve with nature. We calve in May. We didn't lose a single calf because we didn't have any on the ground. Our neighbors lost calves if they didn't bring them inside. It was heartbreaking. So what was nature telling us this year? Migration was 6 weeks later. The hawks are long gone, but the birds, whenever we left home to come here, were still migrating through. The sandhill cranes were still coming through. The geese were still coming through. Nothing's in a hurry. It was 76 degrees on Friday, last Friday in Oklahoma. That's really hot. We had our first freeze this year on November 10th. Our average first freeze around us is November 1st. Everything is behind. Winter will come, but nothing is stressed in preparing themselves for winter in our area. The birds are lingering. The hummingbirds were even 5 weeks late in migration this year, which was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. That also means that we had flowers way longer this season, which was pretty neat. So observing nature has helped us become better planners and stewards of our land, our animals, and our family. It's affected our whole life. Another fun observation that I like to talk about is plant succession. This is one of my favorite patterns I have seen over time. I've documented it many, many times on our farm. And this is, I don't stress whenever we have western ragweed on our farm because I know what's coming. And you'll hear me say in my family a lot, the best is yet to come. And western ragweed is just part of that. The best is yet to come. So western ragweed is a precursor to the little blue stem. And we all know that's one of the big four grasses. But it's not my favorite grass by far. So little blue stem is a precursor to pitcher sage. And pitcher sage sets up the foundation for Indian grass to come in, which is where I want to be. I want to have fields of Indian grass and lots of variety, but I don't stress about plants and what they're doing because they're there for a reason. And if you pay attention, you're going to start seeing the patterns that they're following a succession plan. So it's pretty fun to watch. Unless you're managing your grass, managing your grazing, you're never going to move from western ragweed. If you're continuous grazing, you're going to stay there. But if you're taking care of your land, managing it properly, you're going to move on through the steps of succession, which is pretty neat. Let me see where I'm at. So identifying plant species in your field and watching them change as the land heals is a great place to begin using the tool of observation. That's where I started years ago. In 2008, I started writing down every plant species I would see on my farm. Whenever I didn't know what it was, I would take pictures and send it to people who are much wiser and smarter than I and figure out what they were. So we manage our grasses through rotational grazing. You've all heard about that today. We build and tear down fences every day. Takes hours and hours at about 15 minutes tops. We have moved 120 head of cattle, and we go home and do whatever we want. So it's super easy. This is where we came from and where we're going. I love how the poop is all spread out through the pasture. The soil is completely armored, and we are setting up a great place for more fertility and just for our future. It's excellent. Let's see. So I wanted to point out just a real simple thing. This is a farm near us, and he continuously grazes, and that's his fence line standing on the road. And this is ours. Rotationally grazing makes a big difference. It changes everything. And that's not what I'm here to talk about, but if you want to talk about that more, find me. We'll talk. So this is my son standing in another pasture. That's eastern gamma grass that's touching his chin. It's my most favorite grass on earth. All right. So with observing, you may not know what it is you're watching at the time, but the cows will often tell you. So with animal health, if you're paying attention and watching, you'll see some really cool things happen. Cows will tell you what's going on and what they need and what they're doing. They'll eat certain plants. We've learned that cows will eat between 60 to 100 plants a day if they have the availability, but you have to have those plants in your pasture for them to eat it. So you have to have a diverse pasture. So this is a weird example. This is a farm up the road from us. It's continuously grazed ever since I've been married. Was married in 2005 and have been watching this place. And this is our field. So these are his cattails, and these are my cattails. My cattle decimated these cattails. When given the opportunity due to daily moves to enter the field with the cattails, our girls went crazy. It was a knockout dragout. They went berserk over the cattails. Why? So I have some ideas. While I don't know the answer, I have some ideas. So cattails are nutrient rich. They have beta carotene that promotes fertility. Niacin, it's been shown to reduce ketosis, increase milk. B2, can't say the first name, I keep trying, but it's not working. It's necessary for digestion. Thiamine promotes energy. Potassium helps in milk production. Phosphorus is essential to everything that a cow needs to be healthy. It is a vital essential. So that's what the nutrient profile of a cattail is. And my cattle gobbled it up. Yet the farm down the road, his cattle don't eat it. Don't know why, but it's interesting. So here's what I observed. I don't know why they ate it. I don't know what they're doing, but I can question that perhaps we have a mineral deficiency. Maybe they were mineral deficient. They needed it and they knew where to go get it. And I had the plants available in my field for them to go get the minerals they needed. Don't know. Maybe rotational grazing has trained them to eat whatever they are presented with. I don't know. Perhaps it's an entirely different reason. But I made note of the weather. I made note of other species that were growing in that field that they moved into for that day. I made note of the time of year, and it's going to be something I'm going to continue observing. I don't know what it means, but if they're that nutritious, I want my cattle to eat it because that's going to create health. So sometimes you don't know the complete story. You don't know what it is you're observing yet, but the goal is to observe, and the story will come out and it will tell its story. So we all love to see this in our pasture, don't we? This is pink eye. It's awful. So our battle with pink eye, this was something that happened this year. And we haven't had pink eye on our farm in years. So 75% of our herd ended up with pink eye. We had no cases in our farm in about 10 years. Many animals were treated multiple times with pharmaceuticals, and we still weren't healing. Why is this happening? Is this the beginning of knowledge? I was observing something. So I have some ideas. So we tried a new method of giving them more minerals in their water, which led to us being a little water stressed. Our cows were not pleased that their water tasted differently. Was that the beginning of our pink eye situation? I don't know. Or perhaps it was because we moved to a field that had been readily sprayed and fertilized for years. They were grazing on nutrient-depleted ground. Was that the cause of pink eye? I don't know. If there's no minerals available in the soil on the field you're grazing, can the plants we graze there have the nutrients and minerals in it that our cows need? It's impossible. So is that where? Or was it possibly that we were grazing crabgrass and it was tickling their eyes and poking them, causing pink eye? Or was it strictly because the fly load was too heavy? I don't know. So this was in late July, early August. So according to a lot of the books, flies were spreading it. It was because of the flies. That's what we were told. However, here's what I observed, and it turned out to be a vitamin deficiency. And that vitamin was vitamin A. Once we finally stopped fighting pink eye with pharmaceuticals and started doing research and talking to people much wiser than me, we learned that vitamin A is directly connected to pink eye. There's a book called Natural Cattle Care by Pat Colby. In this, she says that pink eye is caused by an organism spread by flies that only operates if the host is deficient in vitamin A. It is highly contagious. 75% of our herd, it is highly contagious. But will only be caught by those animals deficient in that vitamin. So in Australia, there are huge areas without green feed for long periods, and this can be a problem. It's made worse by the use of artificial fertilizers. The ground we were on was fertilized every year for years, and that inhibits the vitamin A production in soil. So that's good to know. But what does that really tell us about this? How do I do anything? Do I go out and, what do you do? We went on and we looked, and she goes on in the book to explain how you heal your cattle. We had went through 3 bottles of $400 medicine, and we were still having outbreaks. And the ones that were healing were now reinfected and having pink eye again. So she goes on to tell us that we can give them vitamin A. Okay, how do I do that? You give them cod liver oil. So we did 2 things to treat our pink eye. First, we moved our cattle back to ground that had been regenerated, ground that was healthy soil. We instantly started healing before we ever did anything, putting them back on soils that were healthy, not sprayed, not fertilized, instantly started healing our cattle. Second, we gave every single bovine animal 20 mils of cod liver oil. We bought a gallon of it and we went to work. We used this really cool drenching gun. So if they had a weeping eye, we shot some in the eye. The rest of it, we shot down their throats. Within 1 week, every cow on our herd was completely healed but one. We had 1 straggler, and she still struggles a little bit. She's doing better. We haven't treated her again, but her eye gets weepy still. So we went from 75% of our herd infected to complete healing in a week, all because of a vitamin deficiency. It was pretty amazing. So there are so many things that we learned with this experiment. So much of it was faulted to us alone. Most major mess-ups in any operation are due to human error. But these mess-ups only become mistakes if nothing is observed, nothing is learned, and nothing is stored away to use for future reference. We have to be learners and observers of all things that are going on. From this comes wisdom and knowledge that may only apply to your farm and your animals. For example, if we see the 3rd wire on this fence, we know we are getting very dry, that we may need to start being mindful and possibly go into our drought plan. Always be prepared for a drought. You'll always hear that. Always be prepared for the drought, because it's going to come. But pay attention to the indicators on your land. They will show you well before the weatherman tells you that you're in a drought. You'll know way ahead of time. So whenever we start seeing that 3rd wire, we get worried. And you can tell now, we can almost see that 5th wire. This is usually all underwater. That's what we look for. We're dry, in case you're wondering. Another way that we monitor for drought is by watching the fog. I don't know if this is a truth across the United States, but it is where we are. At least it has been this year. So this has been a new thing I've been tracking. It's proven to be completely accurate so far, which is kind of depressing. But so a heavy fog points us 90 days forward to a heavy rain event, meaning about a half an inch of rain or more. And I've tracked it now for a year and a half, close to 2 years, and every single fog has pointed to a rain event. So we had a problem. We had no more fog storms set in place after July until the middle of October. We had a little rain in October, right in line with the fog storm, and then we have nothing until about February. So I hope it's wrong. I hope we have a wet winter, but the fog storms don't show it, which isn't something I want to observe and it to be true. But that is something that we mark down whenever we get up in the morning. If it's foggy, flip that calendar and mark it, and it can't hurt to just pay attention to these things. 6 minutes. I am almost done. That's awesome. Let's see. Sorry, I got... So watch and learn. Nature, plants, and animals and all of creation have a lot to tell us if we just watch and learn. Even, fog storm, sorry, missed a slide. Job 12:7-12 says, "But ask the beasts, and they will teach you, the birds of heaven, and they will tell you, the bushes of the earth, and they will teach you. The fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among these does not know the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand, the life of every living thing, the breath of all mankind. Does not the ear test words and the palate taste food? Wisdom is with the aged, and understanding in the length of days. It may take time to understand what you are seeing, noticing and observing. But even the word of God says, wisdom is with the aged, and understanding in the length of days. Write things down. Make notes about everything. Understanding and useful information will flow out of them. At the very least, it will turn the page, will help you have an account of your land and the story of your farm that can be read about for many generations. You will no longer be left with the what happened here question that we've all asked. So that's all I have, but I encourage you to observe.
So we have about 4 minutes if you have any questions for Sarah.
May I see the first slide?
Sure. I don't know how else to do it, so we're going to do it this way. Which one was that? This one? This one?
That one. Okay, let me go back to the one right before.
There you are.
Got it.
So Natural Cattle Care, was that written by Dr. Pat who?
Colby?
Cole.
It's an excellent book. Highly recommend it. Do what?
C-O-L-E-D.
Yes. Your dad says yes. It's an excellent source. We use it a lot. So awesome. Well, thank you guys for letting me talk. Yes.
Your warm season natives that you would have there, the Eastern Gamma and egress, is that something that if y'all planted that there, you're in Oklahoma, correct?
We are.
Is that something that you established or you're just letting that come on there?
So both. This is native range that has never been broken. It's fantastic. Whenever we took over this pasture in 2009, it was the best, most beautiful stand of stickers you've ever seen in your life. If we had a way to harvest them, we could have been millionaires. So through rotations, it came right back. The seed bank was there. So this is unbroken native. And this we planted 6 years ago. Is that right, Jess? Longer than that, I don't have a good internal clock. But we did plant this. This was a cultivation that we took back and planted 120 species on it. And it is.
Next then, that Eastern Gamma's done a mix with other things.
Yep. It is an incredible field. It actually flooded a few years ago and sat underwater for 6 months, maybe 5 months, and we lost all the gamma grass in it. And where it flooded, gamma can't withstand more than 4 weeks of that kind of moisture. But it's coming back. It's just going to be slow. So, yep. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you. Let's give her another